start with doing touring and then to pop slots, move on to my drugs hell, and then the epilogue, and that'll be my exciting life in rock. This is my exciting life in rock. Feels like I've whipped through this first minute of what would normally be a 60-minute slot, but I've done the introduction, so I guess I'll best get on and tell you my exciting life in rock. Thank you. That's what we call a finishing. So what's happening? So what I'm doing, I'm taking this show up to the Edinburgh Festival. The reason what the show's about, I'll tell you what the show's about. What happens is a few years ago I was doing the Stoke Newington. So many incredible stories of rock and roll do begin in that way. And after the gig, a guy came up to me and said, "Have you ever thought about writing a book?" That's something that people do occasionally say that to me after gigs. So the talking bit, so I'm just warning you now, the talking bit will go on for a little while, so just settle in, it'll be fine. People do come up to me after gigs sometimes and say, "Have you ever thought of writing a book?" Normally what they mean is, "Have you ever thought of writing a book instead of making that horrible noise with your mouth?" So I was quite... But it turned out that he was actually from a proper, actual, real-life publishing house. So I said, "Ooh," and we went off and had a couple of meetings. We had a couple of meetings in the pub. I pitched to him, that's what we call it in the world of international book publishing, I pitched to him my great idea for a book, Dinosaur Planet. 6 million years ago, also I do it 6 million years ago, from the film adaptation, this is 6 million years ago, dinosaurs disappeared, and now, they're back. It's a very good story actually. But he very kindly, I thought it was very beautiful, he very kindly said maybe we could give that to a different book publisher, which I thought was very kind of him, because he had a different idea. He wanted me to write my rock biography, because as he said, the traditional rock biography does not cover the experiences of almost anybody who's ever been in a band. He said you could write your rock biography to tell the truth about what it's really like. I mean, it would be in fact the opposites to a traditional rock biography. The traditional rock biography concerns incredibly talented, beautiful, well-loved performers, and your book would be the opposite. Not sure what he was getting at. So I said, yeah, okay, and I told him that in a couple of weeks' time I was going off to my brother's wedding, and on the way, because he lived a long way away, on the way we were going to New York, and he said, "Well, this is perfect. That will be a great opening to the book," because the usual rock biography might start with the hero of the book, say, playing at Madison Square Gardens in the New York, playing at Madison Square Gardens and doing 3 encores after an amazing gig to a capacity crowd, having sold it out to an adoring audience, and as he walks away from the applause, which is still ringing in his ears, he thinks to himself, "How did it ever get to this?" Whereas you'll do a shit gig to no people, an absolute fuckhole, and as you walk home crying, you'll think to yourself, "How did I was quite disgusted really. I thought, well, I think my gig in New York is going to go exceptionally well, and this song, yes, there's a song at last, this song is about what happened when I did my gig in New York. It's called I Did a Gig in New York. I did a gig in New York. It didn't really work out like I thought it would. I saw no Spider-Man in action, nor indeed Fantastic Four, when I did my gig in New York. We were heading for a wedding as far off as you can go. On the way we thought we'd try and circumnavigate the globe, with stopoffs in Oahu, San Francisco, Singapore, but first of all, in New York. We set off mid-November and I realised mid-flight a festival we'd only seen on Friends would be happening in real life. US citizens see Thanksgiving as mostly family time and not for rock, not even in New York. So I couldn't get a booking no matter how hard I tried. The only gig still going was a poet's open mic. So I met with Greg and Mrs. Greg, some friends on the east side, and off we went to a gig in New York. Well, I did a gig in New York. It didn't really work out like I thought it was. I didn't meet Madonna or get showered with applause when I did my gig in New York. The other acts were angry poets or stand-ups who would all say, "God damn you, motherfucker!" Also, happy holidays. Poets don't use ukuleles, stand-ups do not use guitars, so nor could I. Not in New York. And I shouted out 2 tunes and told a joke about the founding fathers that they all thought was rude. After me, 2 ladies waved their vaginas dancing around the room. That's just how it rolls in New York. And I did a gig in New York. They reminded me of a few bands that I played with before. But we finished off our beer and then headed for the door, and that was that for my gig in New York. Well, I got a yellow cab back to the hotel in a daze. Next day got up to go and watch the Macy's Day Parade as Charlie Brown pursued that football all the way down 34th. I thought, well, hang on, I'm in New York. And I did a gig in New York. Okay, it didn't work out like I thought it would, but it's a story I'll tell a million times and not get bored about the gig I did in New York. So if you do a gig in New York, don't get upset if it don't work out exactly like you thought. Just remember, you'll remember one simple fact forevermore: that you did a gig in New York, in New York, in New York. Thank you. And so I did my own simple question. If I tell a joke, I'm going, and it'll be fantastic. Unfortunately, I won't be telling any joke. But what happened was, so I wrote it all up because we were travelling around the world going on to this wedding in New Zealand. I won't share mine, but it's a nice place, New Zealand, if you like looking at things. I think if you like the 1970s, it's great. Yeah. I wrote the whole story of my gig in New York, and I also worked out some chapter headings for how the rest of the book would go. And when we got back, he showed it to a few people at his work at the publishing house, and they said, yeah, we really like it. We've got one minor quibble. None of us have ever heard of him, so who gives a shit? But as far as I can see, that's more their problem than mine. So he took it off, and he had one more meeting to go to when he was going to go and see his boss. And he said, this is a big decider. I'm going to my boss this afternoon. I'll let you know as soon as we've got a decision. So off he went, and I didn't hear anything else the rest of the day. And I thought, that's fair enough. They've probably gone to the pub to celebrate. The next day, I didn't hear anything else, and I thought, well, it must have been a really big advance, and they got really drunk, and he's not got up yet. And the next day I started, and this basically, after a week, I finally allowed myself to consider the possibility that I wasn't about to become a multi-millionaire, and sent an email saying what was going on, and I got a reply from his boss saying, we're terribly sorry, I'm afraid Stuart doesn't work here anymore. We had to let him go. He kept coming in with stupid ideas like somewhere in the pub. Which was frankly bad timing that he was doing that at the same time as my book. But so that's where the idea for the. So what I would do now, you see, I usually have a glamorous assistant who has a list of chapter headings, but I haven't brought him with me because there wasn't really room on my train ticket, and I haven't got time to do all the stories that are in the show. So what I'm going to do is I'll read out. I've got. If anybody would anybody like one of these? It's sort of like there's a list of some of the stories on the back of this. Would anybody like to choose? Yeah, there you go. So if you'd like to look at this, so the stories are, if you'd like to pick one of these stories, there. I've supported Echo and the Bunnymen on the ukulele. I've written a book that got me into life. I've done that one. I've stayed out drinking longer than Shane McGowan. Anyone want to see that one? Nobody will want to hear the story about how I was naked running through a hotel in Glasgow. So I'll just remember that.
Yeah, remember that one.
Yeah. When you get, yeah. So what happened was, I would tell you. So what happened was, we went on tour a couple of years ago, and we played a gig in Glasgow in a place called the Chai Ovna Tea House. And the thing about the Chai Ovna Tea House is that it is a tea house. It does not serve beer within its walls. And of course, normally you think, well, if you're on tour, well, I don't know if you've been on tour. When you're on tour, you sort of think, well, this would be great. I'll have a quiet night tonight. Just because I'm not at home and don't have to go to work tomorrow, that doesn't mean you have to go absolutely crazy. Let's have a couple of cups of tea. It's not actually what happened though. Unfortunately, we went out drinking. Well, basically, I'll play you a song that sort of explains my philosophy about how one should comport oneself in these sort of situations. This is called Sod It, Let's Get Pissed. I've got a meeting tomorrow, I should be alert, I should try getting in early, I should iron a shirt, but I'm having such a good time talking to you. I'm flat on myself, but maybe you are too. We've been working for most of our adult lives, they can take away our daytime, they're not having the nights. It's unanimous, that's it. Sod it, let's get pissed, let's get lathered, blooded, hammered and trashed. Let's get tapped up, tipsy, sozzled and smashed. Let our livers know they've lived. Sod it, let's get pissed. Well, I know I'll be hungover, it'll probably hurt, but there's more to life than what you do at work. You see, tonight could be the night when we set the world to rights. It would be selfish to go home and get a good night's sleep when we should be preventing World War III. We owe it to the kids. Sod it, let's get pissed, let's get lathered, hammered and trashed. Let's get tanked up, tipsy, sozzled and smashed. Let our livers know they've lived. Sod it, let's get pissed, lathered, bladdered, hammered, trashed, tanked up, tipsy, sozzled, smashed. Let our livers know they've lived. Sod it, let's get pissed. And it would be unpatriotic if we were to ignore the fact that governments relax the late night licensing laws. The whole economy depends on you getting them in again. I'm getting blot over blighting, let the nation applaud. When I'm pie I tickle merry and as drunk as a lord. I think when I've got the gist. Sod it, let's get pissed, let's get lathered, hammered and trashed. Let's get tanked up, tipsy, sozzled and smashed. Let our livers know they've lived. Sod it, let's get pissed. Hey. So we went out and got really, really fucking drunk. And I got back, so I was staying in a hotel, I was staying in the Holiday Inn Express, Glasgow. I can never go back. That was thinking, like, just as a special little treat to myself. And so I got back to my hotel room, and you know when you're quite drunk, and you sort of go, fuck clothes. Threw all my clothes off, lay back in the bed and went, ooh! And then woke up 2 hours later going, need piss. Staggered across the hotel, got to the door and staggered out and went like, this is a very big, very brightly lit toilet. Hang on. And of course I realised I walked out through the wrong door, which is inconveniently placed next to the toilet door in most of these hotels. And I stepped into it, and I was over there, I was absolutely stark bollock naked, without even my glasses on, which is really naked, in the hotel corridor going, this is actually quite funny. If this was in some kind of screwball comedy, I'd have locked myself, oh shit. So then I was getting locked out of my hotel room, stark bollock, and I really needed a piss, so I ran up and down the hotel corridor, God, I need a wee. And I found the conference room. I don't know if you've ever pissed in a stainless steel sink at 2 in the morning when you really shouldn't be doing that. But if you have, it is in fact the loudest fucking noise. So then I ran up and down. I didn't have my glasses on, so I was like, God help me if anybody actually come out of that hotel room and see me there going. And so eventually found the lift, and it was one of these lifts. You know when you're in one of those lifts where there's mirrors on 3 sides and you're the only one here. And then I saw there was a camera in it, so I said, and then basically just emerged into the hotel lobby, and the man dealt with it very efficiently. He went, fucking hell! Room 115! And so that was me running late. And then I woke up the next day going, I just had a crazy dream. And then beside me were 2 identical key cards. It's like a Mr. Ben-esque. So that's how I ran naked this week's experience in Glasgow. What would you like to... I'll tell you 2 more, right? I've got the Nick Cave story. That's one I quite like. I've got the story of my... Do you want to hear about my international hit record? Don't have to. I've got an international hit record. I have, but I appreciate people just not believing, because I have an international hit record only, well, partly among Norwegians, but mostly among people who earn their money working in basements. Because my international hit record is a song about the home computing boom of the early 1980s. I should play it to you now. This song, this song's about ZX Spectrums and Commodore 64s and that sort of thing. And now, oftentimes, I go and do gigs in places like student unions and things, which is basically a room full of young people going, what the fuck is he talking about? But that shouldn't be a problem, is it? So this is a song about that. This is called Hey Hey 16K. We bought it to help with your homework. We bought it to help with your homework and the household accounts. If your dad ever works it all out. Lunch was in the library, writing down the post office, copy and access code. Get a taste for home taping, fetishes of map making. Rotten eggs and rubber keys, random running loading screens, and my minis, fingers crossed, hoping not to witness the terror of hard tape loading error. We bought it to help with your homework. We bought it to help with your homework and the household accounts. If your dad ever works it all out. ZX Spectrum 81, Dragon Vic and Lorry 1, Commodore 64, Amsterdam and Acorn Electron, cheaper BBC Micro. Jester Willie, Sabre Wolf, Laws of Midnight Underworld, Lots of Chance of Man Attack, and of course Manic Miner, The Hobbit and Night Law and Elite. It made a generation who could code a bubble before proper consoles, who all know that the games you get today, well, they might be very flash, but they'll never beat the thrill of getting through Jetpack. Oh, hey, hey, 16K, what does that get you today? You need more than that for a letter. Old school RAM packs are much better. Personal computer games, you'll see there, 16K, that's a competition, bro. Flashing cursor keys and go to Dixon's. And by the Saturday staff with loops that don't end. We bought it to help with your homework. We bought it to help with your homework and the household accounts. If your dad ever works it all out. Oh, hey, hey, 16K, what does that get you today? You need more than that for a letter. Old school RAM packs are much better. Thank you. So we released it, and that song came out about 10 years ago now, and it was the world's first ever online single. Now other people would argue that other songs were the world's first online single, but they're wrong. I don't think I need to argue the point any further than that, because they were wrong. Unfortunately nobody really noticed, because at that time there were only 3 people on the internet. There was me, there was Bill Gates logging everybody's details, and there was a guy in Nigeria who was having some trouble just shifting some funds. But then a couple of people noticed, and eventually it got turned into a video. A couple of years after it first came out, a guy called Rob Manuel, who has a newsletter called Beta, he turned that song into a video. And but then it turns out that quite a few people got onto the internet, and amazingly, a large proportion of people on the internet at that time were men in their mid-30s who used to own home computers. It was quite astounding. So he sent his newsletter out to, there was 100,000 people he sent it out to, about 90,000 of which were basically me, sitting in different offices in basements, who sent it all to all of their friends. And within the space of like 2 days, 1 million people had been and downloaded the video. In the space of a week, 2 million people had been and downloaded the video. It was the 5th most popular page on the entire fucking internet. It was mental. So I got emails from all over the world. It had actually gone to television in Norway for some reason, and I got a request from a Norwegian infant school asking for my permission for their children to perform it at their school play. I said yeah. I also got one from a troop of Canadian Mounted Police who wanted to do it in their gang show. And all sorts of things came about, and one really great thing that came of it was we got asked to go and play a retro gaming convention in Manchester. Now, a retro gaming convention is for people who like playing games from the mid-80s. And so we went, and we started the gig off in fine form. We went, and when we turned up even, it was like entering Bono's world. So I sort of walked in, and immediately people going, "It's him." I mean, okay, I was wearing a T-shirt that said "Hey, hey, 16K" in really big letters on my tits, but still. And and people were like singing the thing. It was great. So we went in and we did "Hey, hey, 16K" as the first song. The entire room erupted. People went mad. We then did 6 songs that weren't specifically about the early 80s high computing boom, to complete silence. But then we pulled it back by doing "Hey, hey, 16K" again. And everybody loved it, and they stormed the merchandise. There was a queue. It was like being a part. It was amazing. There was a queue of people who were queuing up to have their photographs taken with me. And one of them came up to me, and he had a little computer chip, and he said, like, "Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is there?" I said, "No." He said, "That's a genuine, original Commodore 64 SID chip." And I said, "Wow," just like that. I said, do you take that with you where you go then?" And he said, "Yes, of course I do." But I couldn't help but notice in the room that it was basically. I mean, the landlord of the pub was very happy because it was a working man's club that had 200 men in it, all of whom were drinking as much as they could possibly throw down their necks, really, really politely. But the main thing you sort of noticed was there was actually, it was just men, and that's probably the reason why...
I was there!
Apart from Ellen, and apart from Emma in the band, and apart from one bar lady. Yes, I was privy to that, it's alright. This is the trouble, he says. So it's a true story. So yes, and apart from Ellen and Emma and the bar lady, all of whom I think you remember had sort of circles of men. Well, and when I say circle, I mean standing at a safe distance so they didn't catch girls' disease. But I think the lack of, I think 3 to 200, that you would call that a lack of, you would call that, statistically speaking, almost no women, I think you'd agree. And I think that's probably the reason why there have been so few songs about love and romance in the information technology community. In fact, I can only think of one, and it's this one, because I wrote it. This song is called "It Only Works Because You're Here." The phone rings 9 times before he says yes. She's got a problem with Internet Explorer, and he's the computer desk. He waits and takes a lift to her floor and says, "Show me the problem then." She's mildly mortified to find that everything's working again. She flushes bright pink, which he thinks is wonderful. She feels like such a fool, and so she says, "It only works because you're here. Before you came it was broken. It only works because you're here. You've got my windows to open." Weeks pass, and that's that, until he gets in late one day to see she's been and posted and post-it notes onto his screen that says, "Could you pop up when you've got a minute?" He flies up 5 flights of stairs to find her computer rebooting. A main site IT guy sat in her chair. He's red-faced and out of breath, which she thinks is wonderful. She knows he wanted to help her, and so she says, "It only works because you're here. Before you came it was broken. It only works because you're here. You've got my windows to open, blah, blah." So he pops in to see her when he's passing, and also when he's not. She's fairly sure that he feels something for her, but she can't say exactly what. He's nervous and he's shy, and that's part of the reason why she likes him. But the vague chance of romance is not enough reason for her to stay. She can't believe it, he can't believe it when he hears that she's leaving from her whip round wielding PA. There's not enough room on the cards to fit all the words that burn in his heart. She's leaving, it's horrible, he doesn't know what to do. Until at her leaving do, he puts his hand to his heart and says, it only works because you're here. Before you came it was broken. It only works because you're here. You've got my windows to open, she says. Well, you've left it a bit bloody late, so let's not waste time. I think you're great. They kiss, crowd cheers, main site IT guy goes home in a flood of tears. Right, I'll finish off with, I have a choice of stories I can tell you. I can tell you a story about the time I supported Echo and the Bunnymen, or I can tell you about the time I supported Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction. Again, I was going to say, sometimes I do this song and people go, Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction. I don't remember those at all. But again, yes. So for those, so we got a gig out. It's always good to do support gigs, I find, because there's an audience there already. And then if you support somebody you really like, you get it for free. Sorry, Pete, that's what I'm doing this evening. I do find the other thing I picked up on that is if you got in for free to see a band you really like, it's often not a good idea to stand on stage going, we got in for free, and you did. Just people don't like that. But we got a gig supporting Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction because we thought, well, we rock. They rock. It'll be fine. We died in our fucking arses, clearly. But after we did, we sort of slunk off afterwards, after we finished, Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction came on and just basically showed us how to perform a rock show. I mean, they were fucking great. I was a bit worried before I went because I thought, well, I only know one of their songs, Fucked by Rock. But it was fine because, as far as I can see, they just did that song 15 times in a row, so it was all fun. And I was standing right in the very front. I think it's a good place. I was standing right in the front of the stage, slightly to the left. So when they came off, they stormed straight past me. They came off stage, huge applause. Zodiac Mind Warp goes off, goes off stage, swoops past me through the door, slams the door behind them. Again, entire room erupts with applause. People go slightly mental. And they're doing that shit, and it was brilliant. You know when it's like really, really good, and Zodiac Mind Warp don't come back. So the clapping goes down a bit. And then it goes up again, and people start banging their feet. And still they don't come back. And but it had been really good. So just as like a couple of people started to boo at the back, more people start, applause goes on, and eventually people just sort of start giving up. There's a few grunts and groans about from me. And it was just as the applause was going down that I heard this noise going. And I realised that where I was standing, when Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction had gone off stage and swooped through the doors, they'd actually stormed off through the fire exit. So I went to the fire exit from where I was standing and pushed the bar, and there was little old Zodiac Mind, who is quite a small, quite a fragile gentleman these days, just sort of standing going. He saw us, we saw him, and yet he had a split second to save the day. And he stood there and he went, rock! Stormed back on stage, huge applause. They did Fucked by Rock 3 more times. It was fantastic. And that's what happened. So I'll finish off with a song, obviously in this case. And I'll finish this song is. This song is basically my philosophy of the world of rock, because I've as many of you know, I've been doing the world of rock for quite a long time. I know I don't look it, but I have. Okay, and this is my philosophy of how to go about it and actually to have a good time all of the time without worrying about things like making money or actually having people like buy your records or anything like that. And like all great philosophies, it does involve an element of audience participation. Clever joke now. I'm saying this is a joke I've got ready for any Oxbridge people who come to Edinburgh who like this. Yes, I think it was Plato with his dialogues that was the first audience participation in philosophy. We're not actually listed in the comedy section, obviously, the Edinburgh Frenchman. So the way the audience participation goes in this song is that at the end of the second chorus, I will stop singing. If you could then shout, "Oi, Hibbett." Would you like to have a quick demonstration?
Oi, Hibbett!
I will then respond to that shout, and if you could then shout, "You don't really mean that,"
You don't really mean that!
then that'd be great. So thanks ever so much. I am basically doing this gig because it means I get you for free. So there is truth in poetry. And so have a rest of the evening that is beautiful. And this song is called "Easily Impressed." When I buy a pint of milk on the way home from work, I think I bought that with the money I earn, working all week long in a job I like, and it leads me to think about my whole life, like the friends I've got and the flat I have, and the fact that I am acting like a full-grown man. And the best thing about this Babylon I built is that I got it all out of a pint of milk, and I guess I must be easily impressed. Oh yeah, 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 yes, yes, easily impressed. I like a posh cup of coffee from a plastic spout, the ease of navigation of the London Underground, a running gin strimmer or a hairy nose, the futuristic possibilities of mobile phones, email, dinosaurs and washing machines, the trams of Sheffield, vegetarian cheese, it's a string of epiphanies every day, that's my philosophy, although some might say or suggest that I am easily impressed. Oh yeah, 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 yes, yes, easily impressed. There we go then.
Oi, Hibbett!
How may I help you?
You don't really mean that!
Clearly I do. You see, given the chance to choose or pick between despairing of life or taking delight in it, I'll take the latter, because it makes me happy, and surely that's what it's all about. The wonders of the world, be it mountains or taking a taxi, Jolbert or real draft beer in a can, of microwave popcorn. Oh yeah, 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 yes, yes, I guess I'm easily impressed. Oh yeah, 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 yes, yes, easily impressed.